Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with me today as we update you on a horrific event that happened on November the 9th. First off, I want to introduce you to Suzette Penton. She has two sons. One of them's named Hunter. By the way, we're only using their names because they gave us permission. That's the only way we can use their names because of the new Marsy's Law. But Suzette is the librarian for the city of Polk City. For those of you who aren't from this area, Polk City is a community of about 1,500 people. It's quaint, it's quiet, it's almost crime-free. It's a wonderful community. And Suzette Penton helped make it a wonderful community with the work she did with the children at the library. She always went above and beyond. You can see here, and if you go on the Facebook pages, her different faces as she would dress up and paint up as she had programs for the young children in and around Polk City. She was known and loved by the people of Polk City. She was also known as a protective mother. And here's what happened on November 9th. She left with her youngest son to run to the store for a few minutes. Little did she realize at that moment in time that directly across the street in a park, there were four people in a van. They were there waiting to go beat up Hunter. Now you say, why did all that occur? Well, here's what the rendition is as we understand at this point in the investigation. Kimberly Stone, who was 15 on that day, by the way, she turned 16 while locked up in juvenile detention. That was our birthday present to her. She got to serve it locked up. Was the ex-girlfriend to Hunter Penton. They hadn't dated for about 6 months. Her new boyfriend is Elijah Stansel. He's 18 years of age. Well, Kimberly had been communicating back and forth online with Hunter and with other people, and also having, I would call it a post-dating disagreement, ongoing disagreement, where they were yah-yahing and threatening and talking trash to each other. It was so bad that the school system had warned Kimberly, and in fact, on that very day, the 9th, had brought her in and suspended her from school, which was to start the next day, for her outrageous conduct. So she, in some of her rants and arguing back and forth in person and on social media, just said, well, I'll get my boyfriend and we'll come beat you up. So after school, that very day that she was suspended, and it was to start like the next day, she gets with her best friend, Hannah Eubank, and another friend by the name of Raven Sutton. Hannah's 14 and Raven's 16. And then they get with Elijah, and Elijah drives a van up to Hunter Penton's house, Suzette's son. Understand that Elijah didn't even know where Hunter lived. Kimberly had to direct them to the Polk City house. Now, it might interest you to know that the van that he was driving, that he had permission to use and apparently used frequently, belonged to the Westwood Missionary Baptist Church, where his father was not the lead pastor, but was one of the pastors at the church. So they all pile in the church van from Westwood Missionary Baptist, and they go, and they're actually parked across the street and watch Suzette leave to go to the store. We have a video clip for you to see that really tells the rest of the story. They go up to the front door, being Elijah, Raven, and Hannah. The instigator of all this stays in the van. Kimberly stays inside the van. They knock on the front door. Well, at the Penton house, their main ingress and egress is the side door. So Hunter comes out the side door to see what's happening. Hunter has no idea that they're coming up there to fight him. When he comes out the side door, Elijah immediately confronts him in the carport and starts beating him up, where a fight ensues. We see that Hunter tried to, or either was forced into, back into the house as a result of the fight. Elijah is fighting with Hunter. Raven gets a couple of shots in during the fight, the best we can tell with the pieces of video we have. And Hannah is taking photographs or video in this. About that time, unexpectedly, Suzette comes back. She arrives. When she comes back, we see that our ringleader here, along with the other two, just kind of hurry off back to their van. Suzette actually sees the fight. She gets out and goes to the van in her car. Suzette is trying to take photographs of the getaway van. Elijah stands still, runs over her, completely over her. She has tire tracks on her body where he runs totally over her. As we speak today, Detective Fulcher from our homicide team is on his way to the South County Jail, where he's still locked up, to charge him with murder. Interestingly enough, the 3 juveniles have been waived over by the state attorney's office from juvenile court to adult court. They're still locked up in juvenile detention, but are now facing adult charges of attempted murder that were originally filed, and as well as there was a burglary to an occupied residence and a battery. All of those are serious felonies. They now have a bond. So under the juvenile system, they would have had to have been released at 21 days, or they would have had to negotiate a program. Our team has been working hand in glove with the state attorney's office. The state attorney, Brian Haas, and I have talked, and we're all exceptionally upset for a lot of reasons. What started out as a bunch of kids going to go up there and be a thug, going to be a tough person, going to beat up a guy over because he used to date Kimberly, turned into a murder. A murder. He controlled and could have stopped the murder, but he's the one, he's the driver that in the church van ran over and killed this beautiful lady who is so well thought of in the city librarian. This was witnessed by a lot of people. One of them worked for county utilities. He did what the people of Polk County are expected to do. He followed the suspect vehicle, the van, south on Berkeley Road and called 911 and continued to follow the van and give updates until the Auburndale Police Department and the Sheriff's Office could intercept the vehicle as it was traveling southbound into Auburndale. I need to point out that these folks went to Auburndale High School, and one of them actually went to another school, an academy. But Kimberly went to Auburndale High School, Hannah went to Auburndale High School, and I believe Raven went to Stepping Stone Academy. What's interesting about this, with the exception of Hannah Eubanks, which has a really bad attitude, she was arrested once in October or charged criminally in the juvenile system for giving false identification to the law enforcement. But other than that, none of them have any criminal history. Zero. So they went from being rowdy, out of control juveniles on this day to Elijah's charged with murder. And certainly we've got attempted murder charges still in place, as well as burglary to an occupied residence and battery, which are F1s. It should have never happened. It's one more example for us to tell our children, when you misbehave, it can get out of hand. There's going to be a celebration of life for Suzette on November the 6th at the Bronson Community Center in Polk City at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The community wanted us to put out that everyone's welcome to attend. And that's important because it's a small, tight-knit community where Suzette was a very important part of developing the young children in the community. You see, she taught people right from wrong. She taught people how to do things the right way. So at the end of the day, the case is still under investigation. There's still a lot of follow-up to go. We've not downloaded all of the data off of the cell phones and all of the camera videos. We have been working diligently to put this together with the state attorney's office, and we will update you. But at this time, only Elijah is charged with the actual murder because he is the one that was driving the vehicle, and he is the one that ran over and feloniously murdered a lady that was doing nothing but trying to gather photographs of suspects who attacked her child at their home in this quaint, safe little community. Any questions?
Did he have his own set of keys to that van, or did he like swipe them from his father?
Oh, he had permission to use the van, is our understanding. Now, why in the world his father gave his son permission to use this van, I don't know. But it was a van that was traditionally used for maintenance. I'm told it was not necessarily a Sunday transportation van, but one that was used for maintenance. But he, according to the information that we've developed this far in the investigation, this kid was given permission to drive this vehicle. Keep in mind, he has no criminal history. He doesn't work. But I tell you something. When Kimberly, at the time a 15-year-old girl, told him, get in your van and go beat up my ex-boyfriend, he did it.
Were any of them connected to the church, part of a youth group, or you just happened to be a pastor's son?
Not that we're aware of. Not that we're aware of. But they were all friends. The investigation goes on. Now, keep in mind, just last week we had an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old shoot and murder a person out in the far east side of the county over a drug deal. We're not talking about seasoned criminals in either of these events. Come on. At 18 years of age, 17 years of age, you're shooting into a car and killing people. At 18 years of age, you're running over a mama, a city librarian who's doing nothing but trying to take photographs and so she can later identify who came into her house and to beat up her son.
Can you speak to how you know it was intentional?
Sure, if you look at the video, you can see clearly that he had the opportunity to back up, to drive around her, or not to hit the gas and run over her. He didn't clip her. He didn't try to turn away from her and accidentally hit her and she fell down. She was squared up and he ran over her, directly over her, rolled her underneath the van.
But he wasn't trying to shoo her away, he was locked in on her.
He ran directly over her, and you'll see that in the video that we put up here. Or that you,
Yeah, we released it, and we'll release it again.
you may have had it from the original event, but we will release it again. Also, I tell you once again, we're able to give these names because the family wanted us to and allowed us to, otherwise we couldn't. Because the family and the friends want the community to know how horrific this is. What a senseless tragedy it was for him to run over this lady and kill her.
How many times have you seen an incident that could have just so petty turned so bad?
It usually, when you have murders, you have drug deals gone bad, you have relationship fights, you have long-standing feuds, you have horrible criminal conduct, robberies. You don't see that they all went up there to have a teenage fight. And it turned to murder. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind, when you see that video, he had every opportunity in the world not to run over this lady. But he didn't. He chose to take the church van, which was intended for good, and used it for evil. And he needs to go to prison. You see, Suzette didn't get to be with her family on Thanksgiving. She didn't get to share the joy of being with her children on Thanksgiving Day. She'll never have the opportunity again to teach wonderful young children in the Polk City area right from wrong and how to improve their lives. She'll never have that opportunity because of him and because Kimberly wanted him to go up there and beat up Hunter. Evil.
Have they expressed any remorse?
The driver made admissions and said, I didn't know I ran over her. I didn't know. Well, come on, man. If you're going to admit, don't. Well, maybe I clipped her with a mirror, stuff like that. But he was the most concerned of the bunch. Hannah, when we were talking to her, one of the detectives said, do you realize that this lady may die? Hannah looked at the detective and said, I've already been told that. I don't want to hear that anymore. She was very flippant. But ladies and gentlemen, you can be sure of one thing. We're going to see that the criminal justice system holds them accountable. Because whatever they meant when they started, he ended it with murder. And Suzette won't be there when her children get married. She won't ever get to see her grandchildren. And they won't have their mother. And it never should have happened. And the school was trying to intervene and stop the conduct, and Kimberly Stone continued with her conduct to the point that the school suspended her for it. There you go. You know what we know, and the investigation goes on. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Do we have is the video clip up? Or